When a man goes down on a woman, it's not just about licking or teasing. It's about surrendering to her body, exploring every fold, every taste, every reaction with a hunger that says, I want all of you. It's about spreading her thighs apart, looking into her eyes, and letting her see that you're not ashamed of her most intimate place. You crave it, the warmth, the wetness, the way her hips rise to meet your tongue. That's when you stop being just a man and become her deepest fantasy. Because let's be honest, penetration alone doesn't make her scream your name. It's the slow circles of your tongue, the way you suck her clit gently then harder, the way you use your mouth like you're kissing the center of her soul. That's what makes her melt, tremble, and fall in love with you all over again. Before we dive in, make sure to like, subscribe, and watch till the end. Men who lick vagina are most attentive lovers, and this truth goes beyond the act itself. Attention in intimacy is not about rushing to the finish line or focusing only on personal release. It is about slowing down and tuning in to a partner's needs, desires, and emotions. A man who takes the time to go down on his woman is communicating something powerful, that he values her body, her pleasure, and the unique ways she responds to touch. It shows that he is not driven only by his own satisfaction, but by the shared experience of giving and receiving. This is why such men stand out as attentive, because oral pleasure requires focus, patience, and a genuine curiosity about what excites her most. When a man goes down, he has to listen to her body. Her breath, her moans, the movement of her hips, all of these are signals guiding him to do more of what she craves. It is impossible to do this act properly without paying attention, without observing, without slowing down to feel her reactions. This attentiveness spills over into the rest of the relationship, because a man who can listen in the bedroom is often the one who listens outside it too. He becomes more aware of her emotions, her moods, and her needs because he has trained himself to notice even the subtle cues. This makes intimacy not just about sex, but about presence, being truly there with her in the moment. There is also something deeply intimate about the vulnerability required. Oral pleasure is not about rushing, it is about exploring with patience. A man who does this is essentially saying, I am not in a hurry. I want to discover you, to take my time with you. That mindset of slowing down shows attentiveness not just to her body, but to her overall experience. Many women complain that their partners treat sex like a checklist: kiss, touch, penetrate, finish. But men who devote themselves to licking, teasing, and savoring their partner's body break this mold. They create an experience where she feels valued, worshipped even, because her satisfaction is not treated as optional but as the central focus. Attentiveness also means adaptability. Not every woman likes the same rhythm, pressure, or technique. Some like it soft and slow, others like intensity, some like variety, and some want consistency. A man who pays attention can adapt in real time, shifting his movements to match what she responds to most. That kind of focus is rare and precious because it takes humility to admit that pleasure is not one size fits all. It requires patience to experiment, to adjust, and to prioritize her feedback. This adaptability is exactly what makes oral intimacy such a powerful sign of attentiveness. The act itself is symbolic of a larger principle. When a man is willing to focus fully on his partner's satisfaction, he is showing selflessness. He is stepping away from ego and saying, your pleasure matters as much as, if not more than, mine. In many relationships, this attitude is the difference between shallow connection and deep intimacy. Women remember the men who paid attention, who cared, who wanted them to feel alive in their own bodies. And the truth is, when a woman feels that level of care, she responds with trust, passion, and openness that makes the relationship stronger. It is also important to see how attentiveness builds confidence for women. Many women struggle with insecurities about their bodies, how they look, how they smell, or how they taste. When a man not only accepts but actively desires her in her most intimate form, it reassures her that she is desirable exactly as she is. This dissolves shame and replaces it with confidence. She feels seen, celebrated, and adored, and that confidence doesn't stay in the bedroom. It spills into her daily life, her self-esteem, and her sense of worth. An attentive lover creates that transformation, not through words alone, but through actions that prove she is enough. Furthermore, men who embrace this attentiveness often experience greater satisfaction themselves. It might seem counterintuitive, but giving pleasure deeply increases a man's sense of connection and fulfillment. When he sees her shaking, gasping, trembling in ecstasy, he feels powerful, not because he dominated her, but because he elevated her. That emotional feedback loop makes the bond between them stronger, because he learns that her happiness is his happiness. This shift in perspective makes intimacy more rewarding on both sides, and it sets the foundation for lasting connection. The science of pleasure also supports this. When women climax, their bodies release oxytocin, the bonding hormone that deepens trust and emotional closeness. A man who pays attention and invests in her orgasm through oral intimacy is literally strengthening the biological and emotional ties between them. This makes the relationship warmer, safer, and more passionate, because she associates him not only with desire but with deep fulfillment. Attention here becomes both a physical act and an emotional bridge. In essence, being an attentive lover is about respect. It is about recognizing that intimacy is not just about release, but about exploration, care, and connection. Men who lick vagina are not just engaging in a sexual act. They are choosing to slow down, to notice, to learn, and to give. They become better partners because they train themselves to put someone else's experience at the center of the moment. That kind of attentiveness is rare, and it is unforgettable. Men who lick vagina are most confident and secure, and this confidence is not about arrogance or ego. It is about comfort with themselves and their sexuality. True confidence in a man shows when he is unafraid to explore, to give, and to embrace a woman's body fully without hesitation or shame. This is not something that can be faked. It comes from a place of inner security, a deep understanding that sexual pleasure is a shared journey, not a competition. A man who goes down on his partner and does so with intention and focus demonstrates that he is not constrained by societal taboos, fears of judgment, or insecurities about his masculinity. He is willing to lower himself literally and figuratively, to prioritize her experience, and to trust that his own power and identity are not diminished in the process. Confidence in this context is also about vulnerability. Many men fear exposing themselves in sexual situations, afraid of not performing perfectly, of being judged, or of failing to satisfy their partner. But the man who is secure enough to lick a woman's vagina understands that true power lies in giving, in surrendering control to pleasure, and in accepting that intimacy is as much about emotional connection as it is about physical gratification. This willingness to be vulnerable is not weakness, it is strength. It requires courage to pay full attention to her responses, to follow her rhythm, and to respond to subtle signals without hesitation. The confident man knows that vulnerability is the gateway to deeper trust and more passionate encounters, and he embraces it fully. Being confident and secure also means that a man is self-assured in his understanding of desire. He does not approach oral intimacy with awkwardness or doubt. Instead, he knows that this act can be profoundly empowering for both partners. He approaches it with curiosity, enthusiasm, and a willingness to learn. He is secure enough to experiment, to adjust, and to explore different techniques, recognizing that pleasure is dynamic and unique to every woman. This flexibility and openness are hallmarks of confidence because they demonstrate that he is not rigid, self-centered, or afraid to adapt. He can give himself fully to her experience because he knows that doing so does not compromise his own worth. It enhances it. Confidence is also evident in the way a man communicates during intimacy. A secure lover pays attention not just with his hands and mouth, but with his eyes, his tone, and his gestures. He reassures her without needing words, reads her cues intuitively, and responds in ways that deepen the emotional and physical connection. This kind of communication builds trust and makes the experience feel safe and electric. When a woman feels that her partner is confident and unshakable in his desire for her, she can relax completely, surrender fully, and engage in pleasure without fear or hesitation. Her own confidence and enjoyment flourish because his security sets the tone for the encounter. Another aspect of confidence is the absence of shame. Men who embrace oral intimacy without embarrassment or hesitation demonstrate that they are comfortable with their partner's body in its rawest, most intimate form. They understand that the vulva, clitoris, and vagina are not objects of taboo or secrecy. They are sacred parts of the human experience of pleasure. By showing eagerness and appreciation rather than discomfort or hesitation, these men reinforce a culture of respect, desire, and acceptance. They do not allow societal stigma to cloud their ability to give or receive pleasure, and this fearless approach is a profound reflection of inner security. Confidence is also intimately connected to patience. A secure man does not rush through oral intimacy to reach his own satisfaction or to move on to other acts. He understands that mastery of this form of pleasure requires attentiveness, timing, and dedication. He takes pride not in completing an act, but in cultivating an experience that brings both partners to the heights of desire. This patience is a marker of security because it demonstrates a trust in himself, in the process, and in his partner. He is not threatened by the time it takes, nor by the intensity of her reactions. Instead, he thrives on the intimacy created in the space of focused attention. Furthermore, confidence in this context has a ripple effect on the broader relationship. A man who is secure enough to engage fully and without inhibition in oral intimacy often brings the same assurance into other areas of life. He is decisive, emotionally intelligent, and attuned to the dynamics of connection. His partner senses this security and feels protected, cherished, and deeply desired. The bedroom becomes a place where mutual respect and passion intertwine seamlessly because the foundation is built on a man's self-assurance and her trust in his intentions. Confidence in this way is not merely a personal trait. It transforms the experience of love and sexuality into something richer, more fulfilling, and more enduring. Finally, the most confident men understand that pleasure is not a zero-sum game. They know that when their partner reaches heights of ecstasy, it does not diminish them, it elevates the intimacy between them. By embracing oral intimacy, they demonstrate that they are strong enough to celebrate her desire, to prioritize her satisfaction, and to enjoy the shared journey without ego or insecurity. They become men who are remembered not just for their skill, but for their courage, their boldness, and the security they provide in the most vulnerable and intense moments of connection. Men who lick vagina are most connected emotionally, and this connection goes far beyond the physical act. Emotional intimacy is the foundation of any deep and lasting sexual relationship, and oral intimacy provides a unique opportunity for this bond to strengthen. When a man devotes himself to exploring his partner's most intimate areas, paying attention to her responses, and prioritizing her pleasure, he is engaging in an act of trust and vulnerability that cannot be replicated in any other way. This is not just about sexual satisfaction. It is about creating a space where both partners feel safe, seen, and understood. Emotional connection through oral intimacy allows women to relax completely, shedding insecurities and fear, knowing that their partner is fully present and invested in their shared pleasure. The act of going down on a woman is inherently intimate because it requires a level of closeness that few other sexual acts do. It is a position of vulnerability for both parties. The woman exposes her most private parts, and the man exposes his attentiveness, focus, and willingness to serve her pleasure without expecting immediate reciprocation. This mutual vulnerability creates a powerful emotional bond. The woman senses the man's dedication, care, and patience, which fosters trust. Trust, in turn, deepens desire and strengthens the relationship because she knows that he is not only capable of physical pleasure, but also of emotional attunement. A man who engages fully in this experience becomes a partner who is emotionally present, capable of understanding her needs and responding with sensitivity. Emotional connection also arises from the communication embedded in oral intimacy. Men who take the time to learn what brings their partner pleasure through verbal cues, moans, movements, and subtle expressions are constantly communicating love, care, and attention. Each response from her body guides his actions, creating a feedback loop that strengthens their bond. This active listening is a form of emotional intelligence in action. The man is attuned not only to the physical signals, but also to the emotional state of his partner. He senses when she is anxious, when she is comfortable, when she is fully surrendered to the pleasure, and he adjusts accordingly. This level of emotional sensitivity builds intimacy that transcends the bedroom, fostering a connection rooted in empathy, understanding, and mutual respect. Furthermore, emotional connection is amplified by the act of prioritizing her pleasure. When a man focuses entirely on his partner's orgasm without distraction or self-interest, he demonstrates that her satisfaction matters more than his ego. This selflessness is emotionally powerful because it reassures her that he is not merely acting out of desire for himself, but out of genuine care for her happiness. In this space, emotional bonds are fortified, and love is expressed without words. Women remember the men who made them feel cherished and attended to, and these experiences create lasting impressions of trust, safety, and affection. Emotional intimacy in this form becomes a cornerstone of the relationship, making both partners feel more connected on multiple levels. The emotional connection developed through oral intimacy also strengthens sexual chemistry. When a woman feels emotionally safe and valued, her body responds more readily to pleasure. Oxytocin, the hormone released during orgasm, enhances feelings of bonding, trust, and attachment. A man who licks his partner's vagina effectively facilitates not only physical release but also emotional bonding. This creates a powerful loop. Emotional closeness heightens sexual arousal, and sexual intimacy deepens emotional connection. The act is not just a fleeting pleasure, it becomes a shared experience that nurtures both hearts and bodies. Emotional connection in this context becomes both a physiological and psychological reinforcement of love and desire. Another crucial aspect of emotional connection is the demonstration of patience and attentiveness. Men who linger, explore, and adjust their techniques according to her feedback are teaching her that he is invested in the process, not just the outcome. This patience communicates respect for her body and her experience, which in turn nurtures emotional security. When a woman feels safe enough to surrender fully, without fear of judgment or disappointment, the intimacy shared becomes transformative. Emotional bonds formed in this space often extend beyond the sexual encounter, influencing how partners relate to one another in daily life. The trust and empathy developed in moments of intimacy seep into communication, conflict resolution, and mutual support, enriching the relationship overall. Men who connect emotionally through oral intimacy also cultivate a sense of playfulness and exploration. They are willing to experiment, to laugh, to adjust, and to respond spontaneously to her reactions. This creates a dynamic where both partners feel free to express themselves authentically. Emotional connection thrives in an environment where curiosity, joy, and attentiveness coexist with desire. A man who can balance seriousness with playfulness while remaining fully attuned to her responses fosters